All right, welcome everybody back to the New York Giants Preservation Society meeting for tonight, February 26th, with Brad Mangin. Brad is a celebrated sports photographer and especially did some covers to Sports Illustrated, but most of us know him as a Giant photographer, even though he's not employed by the Giants. Just a couple of things. Next month, we start our spring training. Look at the Giants. We have content creator, YouTuber Eric Romo. We're going to have Marty Laurie and Roger Munter, and hopefully after opening day, Russ Bertetta, as long as he's feeling well and it's doable, we'll have a semi tour of Oracle Park with Russ. So something to look forward to. Just on a somber note, like to recognize John McLaughlin's father passed away. John spoke a few weeks ago, and also Jack Hologram. He passed away. He would have been 13 years old today. Jim Mully's grandson. So we'll dedicate the program to both of them in their honor. So what a shame. And but let's start the meeting tonight. Brad, the floor is yours. Welcome to the New York Giants Preservation Society.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks so much for inviting me, and thank to all of you for being here tonight. Really excited to talk Giants with you all and to show you some pictures. So
the screen.
I'd like to dive in.
There you go. The screen should be yours.
And I'm going to share my screen.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
And can you all see this?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes. Yes.
Here's my title slide. See, I'm all very organized for you guys. Made a nice title slide with the date and everything. So again, my name is Brad Mangin. I'm 61 years old. I was born in 1965 in the San Francisco Bay Area in the East Bay. And this is me in 1969 when I was 4 years old. This is the classic Sears portrait. And just legit to prove that I was born and raised a Giants fan. That's not Photoshop. That's not AI. That's me with an old school Giants hat in 1969. So I'm not some carpetbagger. I'm not some, late to the party fan. This is how I grew up in the East Bay, surrounded by A's fans. Never liked the A's. Was always a Giants fan, even though when I was a kid in the 70s, as you all know, they were awful, just really awful. When things really clicked for me in 1973 when I was 8. Of course, they were good in 73. Bonds had a great year and such. And I was at some great games. One of the best memories of my childhood, May 28th, 1978. If you're my age, that was a sweet spot, the 78 Giants. And this was a special day. This is the Mike Ivy game. Mike Ivy hit the pinch grand slam against the Dodgers. It was jacket day. And you could see my ticket stub, and you could see that I wrote on the back of it everything that happened, as I was a very excited 13-year-old. I was there for the Mike Ivy game. And then the following season, opening day 1979, the first game where they had torn up the artificial turf and put the grass back in, and John Tamargo hit the walk-off pinch homer to beat the Padres 4-2. I was there for the Tamargo opening day walk-off homer. That was my first opening day. It was a huge deal. It was Easter vacation. I was a Friday. I was there with my dad. After the 78 season, the Giants got off to a great start in 79. So excited. And then they just went in the tank and had an awful season. Joe Altobelli was fired. It was all downhill after that. But these are a couple of big childhood memories that I was there for. And I have all my ticket stubs from my childhood. I got into photography in my junior year of high school. This is on-field photo day, June of '82. I'm with Jack Clark in my Jack Clark replica jersey. There I am with my first camera. Getting my picture taken with Jack. And I started shooting the Giants in 1987 when I was 22. I was a San Jose State photojournalism student, and I was working at the Contra Costa Times, a Bay Area newspaper with a circulation of about 95,000 in the East Bay. And this is me covering the Giants at Candlestick Park, my rookie year, 1987. Little did I know that, almost 40 years later, I would still be shooting the Giants. Just a real dream come true. In 1989, I got my first season credential with my name on it for the Contra Costa Times. Credentials were a lot different back then. No pictures, no barcodes, no nothing. Just a simple laminate that you'd wear around your neck. This is my first season credential with my name on it from 1989. And this was a special moment. I got to meet and get my picture taken with the great Bobby
Bobby.
Thompson. This was at Fenway Park in 1994. I was working for the Upper Deck Card Company, and they were doing a big, they used to sponsor old timers games all over the country. And I was at Fenway Park, and they didn't do an old timers actual game, but they had like a dinner and a banquet, and these guys were in a luxury suite that night, and so I was in a luxury suite at Fenway Park working for Upper Deck, shooting pictures of all the old timers, and there was Bobby Thompson. So I was a young 29-year-old kid then, and very excited to get my picture taken with Bobby. That was obviously a big, big deal. And even though I'm a photographer, I love being a fan at games. I was a fan for Matt Cain's Perfect Game in 2012. This is me after with my ticket after the game. Just obviously one of the most thrilling events I've seen live as a fan. I'm sure many of you watched the game on TV. If you weren't there, very, very special night in San Francisco. And working for SI, I've had 10 covers during my career. Here's a couple of covers that I have covering Bonds. Bonds was obviously a big, big deal. And this is him when he tied Hank Aaron in San Diego when he hit 755 on a Saturday night at Petco Park in 2007. And here's a few big spreads of mine from SI. This is when the park opened in 2000. Bonds making a great catch in front of the Chevron car in left field. This is Posey in 2012. And this is a great picture of Aubrey Huff getting tagged out at the plate by Cheech Ruiz. And then later, I've been able to, one cool thing, besides all my work at SI and everything in Major League Baseball, um, luckily, the Giants, as you know, won 3 World Series out of 5 years in 2010, 12, and 14. And with my writing partner, Brian Murphy, who hosts the morning show on KMBR Radio in San Francisco, we did 3 World Series books after each World Series. We did Worth the Wait here in 2010. After 2012, we did Never Say Die. And then we did our biggest and best book when they won their 3rd World Series in 2014 called Championship Blood. And then just a couple of years ago, after he retired, we worked with Buster Posey. I had a pretty good relationship with Buster. And as you know, Buster is a pretty low-key guy, doesn't do a lot of things outside of the game, but he agreed to participate with us on this book, 28, a photographic tribute to Buster Posey, because he trusted me. And it's a beautiful book full of great essays about Buster's career and pictures that I shot throughout his entire career. That's really one of the funnest projects we ever worked on. So now I want to take you through a journey of my career shooting the Giants at Candlestick Park. This is what Candlestick looked like in 1987 when I started. This was before they redid the dugouts and all that stuff. This was Candlestick after they'd done the enclosure and before the McGowan group came in and added the bleachers in the left field and padded the chain link fence. But this is the Candlestick of most of my childhood after they tore out the turf and put the grass in. And one of the great things that I loved when I started in the late 80s was they still had the old timers games. And when I started, Equitable Insurance Company had them and they sponsored them. They were the Equitable Old Timers games, and then Upper Deck sponsored them, and they called them the Heroes of the Game. And this is, I love this picture. A young Will Clark and Bobby Bonds. Bobby, of course, was always smoking cigarettes. So Bobby with a cigarette in his mouth in the dugout with young Will. And this is a team picture one year. It's always fun trying to name all, from the back row left. Obviously, we got Willie on the far left. You can see Bobby Bonds, Jimmy Davenport, Jim Ray Hart, Tito Fuentes, Marichal Gaylord, Dick Dietz is in the front. Um, a couple of guys I don't know. The picture's hard to tell in some of them. One of the bummers was by the time I came around, McCovey's knees were so bad he was never in uniform for these games. But of course, the star. Here's a picture I love. Of course, Jim Ray Hart's got a cigarette, and so does Bobby Bonds. They're both smoking in the dugout, but really good friends. This is around 1989-ish, 89 or 90. But the star, of course, was Willie. Everyone was always waiting for Willie to come onto the field to take batting practice because he was, I mean, Willie was still young enough where, you know, he would he could put on that uniform and he could still hit in the cage. And he still looked like Willie Mays. You can see Davenport's in the cage. This was a game, this one year they played against the Cardinals. Every year the opponents were different mishmash of all stars. This one year, you could see in the back left that's Orlando Cepeda dressed up in a Cardinal uni. This was a fun game because, like, I remember Lou Brock was there, Bob Gibson was there. This was a great day of old timers. This is a different year of Willie in the cage. That was always a big deal for me. I mean, obviously, I'm not old enough to have photographed Willie playing, but to get him in uniform in an old timers game, that was always real special. And this was a group picture after one of the days. This is quite a group of guys. I mean, starting from the back left, I mean, Terry Whitfield is there, Dave Kingman, Mark Fidrich. Um, um, gotta put up my God, you can see Red Shanedeans is there. Willie's there, Red Shanedeans, Juan Marichal, um, Dick
That's
Williams.
Felix Mion.
Yeah, Hank Sauer, Bill Rigney, of course, Joe
Joe,
DiMaggio in a suit because by then he had stopped wearing a uni. I think Al Rosen is next. It looks like Al Rosen's big nose next to Joe D. Mudcat Grant. Um, you
Ron
see,
Say.
yeah, you see, Reggie in the front. You see Orlando, Mike Sadek, who was always around then. Ron Say, Tito, Vida. John the Count Montefusco, one of my childhood favorites, is in the front left. Um, this was a lot of fun seeing these guys all in a picture. This is Brett Butler after the Giants beat the Cubs on that Monday afternoon to win the 1989 pennant.
I was there.
That was a great, crazy, unseasonable. That was your classic. You might even call it earthquake weather. It was really warm that Monday afternoon against the Cubs, just 8 days before the earthquake. And of course, the Giants did not win that World Series. They were swept by the A's. And I shot this picture of Candy Maldonado in the dugout after the Giants lost, after the earthquake. This game four was on a Saturday night at Candlestick. Back in the day, and they don't do old timers games anymore, and they don't do as much as they used to have the turn back the clock days, which I love when they would wear the turn back the clock day uniforms. And this was in 1991, June of 91, and they wore 1925 New York Giants uniforms. And this was the guys gathering in right field for a team picture. And, starting from the far left, you see half of Wendell Kim's face and Kurt Manwaring and Mike Benjamin. Of course,
Matt
and Matt
Williams.
Williams. Um, um, just
Mike Felder.
I think that's Felder. I always screw that up. And that's Kevin Bass on the far right. Um, but I always loved this. This was a really cool day. Except they played the Cubs, and the Cubs wore their regular uniforms, which kind of sucked. But the Giants looked great. John Burkett pitched. They had an old fashioned.
I have that program thing they did with it was Clark and Williams and Mitchell, and I still need to get it signed by Matt Williams.
Yeah, it was a really cool day. They had a hand operated scoreboard in center field. Roger Craig looked right at home in the old uni. There's Will. The one, they didn't do helmets, so they kind of sucked for the pictures when they hit because they wore the real helmets. They didn't do anything for special for when they hit, but the dugout looked cool with all the guys in the unis in the background. And this was a crazy day. This was 1992, October of 92, when the Giants were moving to Tampa. And it was a crazy, sad day. And
You're still not home.
I went around and shot pictures to document all the what the park looked like that day because we really thought it was going to be the last game ever at Candlestick Park because the Giants were they were going to move to Tampa.
I was there.
And a lot of you know who this is. This is Jamie Rupert, Horace Stone's granddaughter, crying after the game from her seats right behind the Giants dugout or right near the Giants dugout in the front row. It was a very sad day. It was horrifically sad.
Oh, I was in the bleachers.
But of course, the team was saved. Matt Williams sliding home with Darren Dalton making a tag. Will Clark was obviously one of the great fun players I got to photograph over the years when he was there. The new park obviously is something special, and we can't believe they finally built it. And it's shocking that, you know, 2026 is here and the park opened 26 years ago, and this will be the 27th season there. But there was nothing like Candlestick and a beautiful day with all those people. That place was so loud. And if you were ever there for one of those big games, how loud that place could be. But so many times it was really empty. Even with a guy like Barry Bonds hitting home runs in there. And this is a guy who was great when he came along in 93 and helped turn around the team. Dusty Baker. This is shot in 1994 in the dugout. Nice portrait of him. And then they broke ground December 11th, 1997 for the new park. Of course, Willie and Barry.
These are great pictures, Brad.
Thanks, Gary.
And Brad, I'm upset with you.
Why is that?
Because I messed your last name up. You told me Soft G on the phone last week.
I did, Gary. That's okay. That's okay. And this guy, who knew that this guy was finally going to get voted into the Hall of Fame by the Veterans Committee a couple months ago? Jeff Kent. This is 1996. I mean, 97. After this was his first year when he came in 97. This is the final pitch ever thrown at Candlestick Park to Marvin Bernard. The final pitch. Giants-Dodgers. Giants got smoked.
Marvin hit the last home run there.
And he also grounded out to first base at 4:35 p.m. There's Eric Karros making the put out. The final out at Candlestick Park.
I think Norm stepped away for some tissues.
I was there.
They took out home plate. There's Peter McGowan and Dusty and Larry.
Is that Rick Russell in the background?
I think he's too skinny.
On the back left is looks like Bob Nepper.
Oh, okay.
Um, um, this is a really cool day. When they brought out all the old timers, it was really great. It was a warm day. It was a beautiful day. God, it was a great day. And it was funny because it's like it was symbolic them taking out the mound, but it wasn't so much. I mean, taking out the rubber, it wasn't so much that it was the last game at Candlestick. It's they had a Niner game coming up, and they had to turn the field around because it was the Niners were playing. There was a multi-purpose stadium, but it looked symbolic. So of course, all the photographers had to take pictures.
I wonder what that guy's doing now.
And I did a lot of trips over to the new park to shoot construction pictures. This is just one general overall construction. And this was January. This was when the park was closed. This was January of 2000. And they had a media event where some of the guys were going to take batting practice. And so this is Bonds taking batting practice.
Was that the one with Sean Estes was there too?
Sean Estes was there.
That could have been the groundbreaking.
He was at the groundbreaking. Sean Estes was at the groundbreaking. Sean Estes pitched to Bonds at the groundbreaking.
I remember that. I was there.
This was Bonds hit, Aurelia hit, and Snow hit that I remember. Again, I'm doing like a tight edit. I didn't want to show too many. Didn't want to show like a million pictures of the same thing. And then the park opened. They had like a soft opening where they had a Friday night. They had two exhibition games, a Friday night against the Brewers and a Saturday night against the Yankees. And then they opened on the road and they came back and opened at home, famously against the Dodgers, where Kevin Elster hit the 3 home runs. This was the Friday morning where they had the Willie Mays statue dedication. And of course, it was Packville Park then. And this is the first game. And of course, the Giants lost. Kevin Elster hit 3 home runs, but if you could make out the scoreboard in the 4th inning, the Giants were actually ahead 2-1. They lost, but it was just still just so many of us were just dumbfounded that we weren't on a road trip in some other city, that this was in our city. This was our ballpark. It was crazy. It's from the same game.
Nice shirts.
Yeah. And you look south across McCovey Cove, of course, Lot A, that's all been developed, and just everything south, all that land has been developed now, all the way down to Chase Center. It was all wide open back then. And of course, all the boats we used to get in the cove for Bonds. It's a different time. And he was a special, fun player to get to cover. It was a lot of fun. This is him hitting his 73rd home run on the final day of the 2001 season. With Jeff Kent on deck. Juan Marichal getting his number retired.
Felipe Alou.
Yep. Felipe
Charles, you gotta let him talk.
Sorry.
Felipe and Peter. Willie's 75th birthday party. It was, we got spoiled. Obviously, we all did for so many years. Kruk and Kipe and guys would call all these guys the living monuments. Mays, McCovey. We still have Marichal. He's like the last one. Um, Orlando was around all the time. All these guys. Gaylord Perry wasn't local here, but you'd see him at big events. All these guys. There's Jimmy Davenport. There's Lon Simmons. All these guys. The Giants do such a great job with ceremonies, and these guys were always around, and we had them around all the time. And you knew it wouldn't last forever. And it was crazy that you'd look out there and there are all these guys. And it's and so many of them obviously are gone now. Tim Lincecum's first game ever I think it was May 8th. It was 2007. It was a Sunday night baseball game against the Phillies. This is the first inning of his first game ever. We knew he was going to be special. We were hoping he'd be special. And little did we know what he was going to be a part of. And this is when Bonds hit the record-setting 756 home run on a Tuesday night against the Nationals in 2007 to pass Hank Aaron. This is a big deal doing this for Sports Illustrated. We had several photographers there, and this is my handheld camera. I needed this. When you work for Sports Illustrated, you have to do special things that no one else does, and we needed a special angle. And I'm literally out and behind the right field fence, shooting through a chain link fence to get this special background where there's no advertising, and I'm the only photographer there because I need a picture that no other human being has. And my camera's on the ground to get this low horizon, a very special look. I get lucky when I catch a strobe that a fan shoots their picture with a point and shoot, and their flash goes off, which makes this dramatic flash of light hit Bonds. But then I have a remote camera behind home plate because I need to get a wide picture that adds a sense of place and a sense of history to put Bonds inside the stadium. So this is my remote camera behind the plate because you want to see the scoreboard, you want to see the clock, you want to see the ball and the dramatic night sky with the stadium lights that puts Bonds inside the stadium because you want to see what was going on, what did it look like. So this was one of the most successful nights that I had of planning. Took like a year to plan it and have it all happen. Again, this was the handheld of Bonds hitting the home run. This is the remote behind the plate. A lot of teamwork, a lot of effort, a lot of planning, and a lot of breathing sighs of relief when it all happens successfully. This was opening day 2009, I believe. Again, Willie May, anytime Willie's there, it's like try and make a good picture, something um, that says Willie. You know, obviously those old unis didn't have the name on the back. You don't need Willie's name on the back. All you need to see is 24, right? You know it's Willie. You know it's Willie. 2010, game one of the first playoff series against the Braves. Timmy Lincecum on the mound, strikes out 14 Braves and beats them 1-0. This was just the start of an amazing postseason run of a very special first World Series in San Francisco.
I was there.
And then game five in Arlington, I'm shooting all the games. And again, we don't have time for me to show you 8 million pictures from the whole World Series, but Edgar Renteria hits the big home run in the seventh inning. And the Giants get the World Series trophy. And then after the celebration in the clubhouse, they bring it back out on the field, and I get one of the big things when you're photographing the champagne in the locker room is you need to get a good player with the trophy. And a lot of times it's hard. You end up getting like the crappy guy with the trophy or the guy that didn't do anything. But for this, it's like you need to get Buster. He's the rookie, he's the guy. And I was thrilled to get this really good picture of Buster with the trophy on the field after game 5 in Arlington. This is 2012. This is a real special picture that I got a Buster that's been used a lot. 2012 World Series, and of course, Pablo hits 3 home runs in game 1 as Zito beats Verlander. This is the 3rd home run. And then we make it to Detroit, and it's cold, and I'm getting a cold, and it's been raining all game. And after the final out, Marco Scudero drops to his knees, points to the air to celebrate. And then I'm in the clubhouse, and Buster just gets hammered with champagne. Again, you got to get the good guys. You got to get the good players that tell the story. I was really happy to get Buster here. And then Hunter Pence in the parade. And then the following April 2013, Angel Pagan and Scooter on the right getting their World Series rings. Opening day 2014. When I shot this picture, little did I know that it was going to be their 3rd World Series in 5 years. In June, Tim Lincecum throws his 2nd no-hitter. And again, to be a good photographer, you got to tell the story. So I'm behind the plate. This is the final pitch of the no-hitter. You got to have the actual final pitch. You can't have a pitch. You have to have the final pitch. You can see, Will Venables at the plate. The count is 1-2, and you can see the ball. This is the final pitch of the no-hitter. You got the scoreboard. You got the clock, the whole thing. And then of course the Travis Ishikawa hits the home run to win the pennant, and I waited over an hour in the clubhouse for Giants former PR man Jim Moorhead to get me the ball. I need the ball. I need to pose Travis Ishikawa with the ball, and it was worth the wait to get this set of pictures. Then the World Series Game 7 in Kansas City, getting Panic and Crawford turning the double play. Giants win again. Crazy, crazy game, as we all know. And just bedlam in the clubhouse. Just Jake Peavy, losing his mind as he does with the trophy. And then the following April 2015, I talked earlier about taking for granted all the living monuments. I was thrilled to get Perry and Marichal together out looking at the new trophy. Really love this picture, to get these guys out there with no one else in the way, no one else ruining the picture. The two great pitchers, the Hall of Fame pitchers. This is opening day 2016. It's tough to go wrong shooting a beautiful wide picture at the new park. Again, I call it the new park, and we're on the 27th season coming up at the new park. Bochy's final game ever, 2019. I wanted to get something a little behind the scenes, and I went into his office on that Sunday morning and got John Miller doing the last Bruce Bochy show for KMBR. So what Bochy's office looked like. And whose jersey do you see on the back wall? Looks like a Willie Mays jersey to me, number 24. And a couple months later, in February of 2020, right before COVID locked us all down, this was such a cool, the end of a really special time where a lot of you I know who John Shea is. John is a regular at your meetings. He's been a guest at your meetings. Of course, the author of the New York Times bestseller 24 about Willie Mays, where he and Willie worked together on this great book. I had the pleasure of being the picture editor for John. I worked with John on the book for over a year, helping to gather pictures for the book. And as the book was coming out later that spring, I had told John, we need pictures of you and Willie together to help promote the book. And so there was this one day in February before everyone was going to Arizona for spring training where Willie was going to the Giants clubhouse to meet Gabe Kaplan, the new Giants manager. So we arranged for John and me to be there to meet Willie. And they're in Mike Murphy's old office, again, right before COVID. And, this was back when Willie was still around. Willie was still healthy because Willie was still at the ballpark a lot. Again, this is before COVID. And we were there like an hour and it was just Willie and John telling stories and I talked to Willie and Willie was great with me. And look how good Willie looks. Willie was having a ball. Of course, Renee was there. Mario Alioto was there. Willie was surrounded by people he trusted. And it was such a fun, special afternoon. And obviously Mike Murphy was there. And Willie didn't want to leave. Finally, Renee said, well, we got to go. We got other stuff we got to do. And you could see his love for John. He trusted John. John was just such a dear, dear friend to Willie. And, right after this, a couple weeks later, COVID shut us all down. And, you know, obviously it really hurt Willie because he wasn't able to leave his house. He wasn't able to go to the ballpark. And this was the last time Willie looked like Willie Mays, really, and you could see how good he looked. Just real special set of pictures for me to be able to do this. I'm so thrilled that we did this because then we had COVID and it was, a real privilege that I was able to go and photograph a lot of baseball games when no one else was allowed in the stadium because it was cardboard cutouts and photographers. It was pretty crazy to be there. And full circle, I shot Will Clark. My rookie year was Will Clark's second year in 1987. And here he is retiring. They're retiring his number in 2022. In 2022, they retired number 22. And then Brandon Crawford played his last game for the Giants in 2023. This is the final game of the 2023 season when Crawford was taken out of the game. Obviously, another great, great Giants player. And then things turn over. New players arrive. This is opening day of 2024. New Giant Matt Chapman scores the winning run in extra innings to win the home opener. And then in 2024, as we all know, Willie passes away in June. And, the statue was just surrounded by flowers that week, like crazy, and people. And this was the scene for several days that week around the Willie Mays statue at the ballpark. And then this was a special day. This was the day that all the Giants were going to wear number 24. And they did a tribute for him before the game. And this is a picture that I just had to get, and I didn't care about any of the rules or anything. So I literally went inside the Giants dugout before the game to where I needed to be to center myself to get this perfect framing, to get the wide shot of everyone lined up on the first baseline, and then get Willie's, face on the scoreboard. This is a real special picture to me to get all the 24s there. is opening day last year. Another crazy extra inning win. New Giant Willie Adames. So I'm still covering the Giants. New guys, hopefully better things ahead. Rafi Devers, who arrived last June. And now we got this guy, Tony Vitello, the new manager. Uh, the one thing I can say is it's definitely not going to be dull with this guy around. I've been around him several times. He's a real character. He's a funny guy. He's a good guy. And I'm really rooting for him to bring some good things to San Francisco this year. And that is what I got.
Brad, that was just amazing. Wonderful, wonderful. I stuff that just brought back memories for me, and I don't live there. So I got a couple of questions. Now, your credentials, since you don't work for the Giants, how were you able to, get into the position you were in, like with the new stadium opening? Those pictures were fabulous. That access gives you to any part. How does that work?
Well, I worked for years. I worked for Sports Illustrated when Sports Illustrated was a viable, Sports Illustrated is a shell of itself now. But I mean, Sports Illustrated was the best sports magazine in the world until about 8 or 9 years ago when they basically almost went out of business and now they're just a monthly. But for years, I had a season pass where I could go to any Giants game or A's game through SI. But I also worked for Major League Baseball. I did 17 World Series in a row for Major League Baseball. I shot every World Series from 2000 to 2016 for Major League Baseball. And Major League Baseball I had a credential for them that got me a special league pass that got me into every park in the country. So, like anything, when you're around for a long time, as you get older, you know, you you have access. So, and you become a known entity. So,
Right. So on a professional note, what do you deem as like the perfect shot? What are you looking for?
I mean, it depends. Every game's different. It depends on the game. It depends on the story. It depends who you're working for. It depends what your editor wants. You know, it's a lot of times it's not. Sometimes your editor wants a certain great action picture. Sometimes it's the reaction. If you're shooting Brandon Crawford's final game and he's leaving, we knew he wasn't coming back to the Giants. Just knew that. So you need a picture of him saying goodbye. You don't need a picture on Brandon Crawford's final game. You don't need a picture of him swinging the bat. So eventually, because again, the older you are, the more experience you have. Anytime it's a guy's last game or something, they're going to pull him and he's going to get the walk off to cheer. So you want to be in a spot where you're going to get him walking off the field and you're going to be able to see him and get him waving and the light's going to be good. And you want to, they're in the third base dugout. You don't want to be at first base because then you're going to get his back unless you want his back. And, it's just, so it's planning. It's like anything. I don't care what you do for a living in your life. It's years of experience, years of planning. You're knowing where you need to be to make that picture, and every game is different. It depends who's pitching. If Tim Lincecum was just an absolute dream to photograph, and he was rare in that as a pitcher because everyone here watched him pitch either in person or on TV a million times. He had that great delivery, that great windup. He looked great from every angle. There are some pitchers who only look good from one side and look terrible in still photography from the other side. So Lincecum was great from every angle. And when he pitched, a lot of times I would shoot him every inning from a different spot. And I would constantly move around the stadium to get in. And of course, because sometimes he had long hair, then he'd cut his hair. It's like, oh, I need Timmy with a new haircut because he looks different. Or the sun, sometimes in the middle of the summer on a 1 o'clock game, the light sucks. It's really harsh and the pictures are bad until after 3 o'clock. But if it's overcast, the fog rolls in, then it's a beautiful day. So I need to load up on Timmy because it's overcast and the light's great. So I need to go heavy on Timmy on this day. Or then you get a 5 o'clock ESPN game and the light is screaming. And, I didn't want to get super technical here, but so those 5 o'clock games, you're only going to have great light for 2 innings. So then you got to decide where you're going to shoot. Every game is its own little entity, and it makes it fun. It's not the same every day, and come on, we all know the old saying. I mean, Hank Greenwell might be the first one that I ever heard say it. You go to the park every day and you see something different. And it's true for photography. You learn. I'm 61 years old. I've been doing this, for almost 40 years, 39 years since I shot my first Giants game in 1987. And I learn still every day. I'm out there. There's always little things that I'm picking up, and it helps. Obviously, I know the game really well, um, but it makes it fun.
Fabulous. Mars, you're up.
Yeah, but you're talking to me. Oh, great. I had a couple of comments. Amazing. The pictures of Lincecum's no-hitter, the second no-hitter, and the pictures, I'm saying pictures because you had it from center field and you had it from behind the plate simultaneously. And the Bonds home run, also the thinking and thinking it out and the timing. Of course, you had to have some light with the reflection coming in on the home run, but those were incredible. And there was one photo of a play at the plate. I started writing it down too late. I guess it was Posey, and the ball was about to touch his glove, and you didn't see him tag him, but the ball was about, and he said he was.
Oh, that's just a pitch. That's a pitch. That's a very overflung fastball.
You remember? It was an amazing photo, and it's just so. And then when you had Marichal and Perry in the same picture, if Marichal is above and beyond anyone else, as great as Perry was, Marichal alone, that's the photo to get. And this was so entertaining and watching it, and it just so enjoyable. Thanks for this great presentation.
Thanks, Mark. Mars, you're up.
Thank you.
I thought you said Mark, sorry.
Oh, it's okay, Mark.
Brad, those are great shots.
Thanks.
I'm a photographer too, but mostly what I do is I'm still shooting for Downbeat Jazz's Jazz Times, which those two are defunct. But I think one of my favorite shots, the angle and all that, if not my favorite shot of yours, is Aubrey Huff being tagged out by the Cardinal catcher with the ball in his jaw and Huff's jaw.
Yes.
I love that shot.
Thanks. That's with a remote camera. I was at third base. It was a bad picture from my angle, but I had, gotten there 3 hours early and set up a remote camera on the backstop. So that was a good one.
I was at several of the games you talked about, the Mike Ivey's Grand Slam, the playoff against the Cubs, the 1925 game. I believe they started wearing, instead of blue, they had the red logo. And also, I have shots of the construction. I said, Missy Masalaki, 200 shots, and she put one of the crane. I worked a block away, so I'd go there on my lunch hour with my press pass. So she has a shot of the crane, and one she asked for one of me, and that's in the press box now. So the question I have, I'm sure you have, but did you ever receive the Quaddy candlestick?
Oh, I have a bunch of them. Yeah. Let's see. I was in junior college in 84 and 85, and in 1984, me and one of my best friends got, obviously the Giants were terrible, as most of you know, in 1984, but they had the All-Star game that year, and
Bob Bradley.
so we wanted to get All-Star tickets, and they had a 17 game you pick them season ticket plan. I was 19 years old with tons of free time, and the tickets were cheap. So you just get the schedule, and we would pick like Friday night and Saturday or Sunday games, 17 games, lower box. They were cheap. And so you got to buy 2 All-Star tickets plus 2 more if you paid before a certain date. So we got 4 All-Star tickets. And so I remember that, like 84, that year, we had several extra Eddie night games. And of course, we were young kids, so, we're not leaving early. So I still remember the rush of going down an escalator, on a cold Friday night after the game to our car, and there would be the people handing out the quad candlesticks after games. And then we did it again in 85. So we did it in 84 and 85. Those 2 years I went to lots of, games, lots of night games, and got quite a few quad candlesticks. And I put them on my hat like Kruko used to wear. He'd wear one on each side of his SF logo when he pitched. So I would put them on my Giants hat. So yes.
Mine all turn yellow because of the sunlight. Thank you
Thanks.
very much, Brad.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Mars. Norm, you're up, man.
Hey, Brad.
Hey, Norm.
Brad, I knew you were going to be great. I think I told you would be great, but you were better than great. I mean, you wowed me. What great
Thanks.
pictures you have. And you don't realize this, but I was in one of your pictures in the show today.
Really? Which one?
It's the one after Jamie crying. You have some fans in the stands. There's only half of me, but you've got my friend Robert and Greg and Ori. You have complete shots of them.
That the picture of the husband and wife?
It was the last game in '92.
Yeah.
And we were behind them.
Oh, wow.
And so I thought that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
You obviously are a big fan, and you are there for the greatest moments in Giants history, and you're seeing the greatest players, and you got to see Willie Mays and all this. How do you keep your composure while you're doing all this?
It's easier than it's way easier. I'll try it. I think I can explain this pretty well. It's when you're taking pictures, you're really rooting for pictures. You're really rooting for pictures. I mean, trust me.
Yeah.
It's to give you an idea, watching on TV is a nightmare for me. Like in 2010, they're playing first round of the playoffs. It's the Braves. Game one, Timmy pitches. They win 1-0. They're great. You remember game two, Pat Burrell hits like a 3-run homer early. They're up big early. They lose. Rick Ankiel, I think, hits a big home run. The Braves win. And now it's 1-1, and they go back to Atlanta and for the next three. And I remember game three comes on, and I'm not traveling. I do the World Series every year for Major League Baseball. I mean, I did then. So I knew I'm doing the World Series, but playoffs, I'm just doing the home games for sports. Playoffs I do for SI, home games. I'm not traveling the playoffs. So the playoffs, when they're on the road, I'm at home watching. Game three, game starts in the first inning. First inning, I can't watch. I'm watching like the Food Network. I can't. And game three, I think that was the crazy game where Freddie Sanchez gets the Giants are down in the ninth, and like Ishikawa walk. I mean, the games were crazy in Atlanta, and I can't watch. I can't watch. I can't watch. It was a disaster. But when I'm shooting, that calms me. That's, trust me, I get pissed. But I'm rooting for pictures, and it helps me if I make good pictures. But if I'm just sitting at home, oh my God, it's now it's funny. I'm older. They've won 3 of them. I do not care. Like I'm the drama's not there like it used to be. But back then they hadn't won, and I'd been through 2002. I was at all the games in 2002, home and road against Anaheim. I mean, that was obviously a disaster. And I like a lot of people. In my lifetime, I'm thinking, are they ever going to win a World Series in my lifetime? And so, in 2010, I was still, and when I was a kid, I had bad temper. I would throw things and break things. I mean, if Tom Griffin lost a game, I mean, how many of you even remember Tom Griffin? I mean, Tom Griffin lost the game. I'm pissed. I'm 12 years old and I'm cursing Tom Griffin. I mean, come on. I mean, I still remember, Gary Lavelle giving up certain I get on these YouTube things and the other night I'm watching This Week in Baseball highlights from 1977. I'm seeing the Phillies walk off Gary Lavelle at Veterans Stadium, and it's just I'm losing my mind. I'm 12 years old. It's the first year the Giants wore the orange tops, and it's Gary Lavelle at the Vet, and the Phillies are running around the bases in the bottom of the ninth inning, and I'm 12 years old again. I want to break everything in the house. So I'm sorry, this is a long-winded answer, but yeah, I it's easier when I'm there working in person than sitting at home watching on TV.
Okay, thanks, Brad.
Thanks.
I made a screenshot of the photo I was in during your presentation. I'll circle me and send it to you.
Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Bill Klink.
Thank you, Gary, and welcome to another San Jose State alum. I'm class of 71,
Oh, awesome.
not nearly as illustrious as you. You may be our first San Jose State guy on this. Gary can check me on that one, but I'm proud to have lived at 62 South 13th Street for a couple of years, and
Oh, I lived for a year on 10th Street.
10th, yeah.
Yes, I lived on 10th Street, right. Yeah, because I worked on the Spartan Daily newspaper for a year, and
By
so
Santa Clara, right? Santa Clara and 10th, that area? Yeah.
right around a couple blocks south.
Yeah.
The Confot Market was around the corner from us. I just remember.
It was a crazy place.
Yes.
Are any of your photos at the MLK Library there?
At the MLK Library?
The Martin Luther King Library on campus?
Not that I know of.
No, they
Not-
should be.
Yeah,
I'll
not-
put in a word. I'm making a donation to them.
Oh yeah, I don't know. San Jose State when I was going there in the late '80s had in the mid to late '80s, they were like the top 5 photojournalism
Oh,
school.
yeah.
But it's all money and in the business. It's all gone to hell. So it's they used to have a real active program, and I was really involved with it. But in the last 15 years, it's all dropped off the face of the earth. So
Did you get your start at San Jose State games? Did you photo the baseball at San Jose State?
I shot a little bit of baseball. I was on staff in the spring. It was goofy. Spring of '87, I was on staff, but it was a weird time. We had like too many staff photographers
Oh, no.
and a small budget, so we only had like 4-page papers. It was a weird time that semester, so there wasn't a lot of room in the paper, so there weren't as many assignments as there should have been. I only shot like 1 or 2 baseball games, shot a couple basketball games. We didn't get published a lot. Every semester is different on the budget. I mean, a lot of semesters it'd be 8 or 12-page papers and fewer photographers and a lot. Anyway, it was a great place. I mean, the education was great, teachers were great, students were great. It was incredible. We were in Dwight Bennell Hall. It was great. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Just there wasn't a lot of opportunity with the paper that semester.
You're one of the 2 great photographers to come out of the Bay Area. You doing the action photos and the portraits by Doug McWilliams.
Oh, Doug's
Is
a very
Doug
good-
a friend? Do you know Doug?
Oh, I know Doug really well. There's a group of us that have lunch together many times every year. And when I started in '87, Doug was still around shooting for Tops. And I knew who he was. I was scared to death to talk to him because I was
Oh,
very
he's
shy. Yeah, so I
a
got to know
wonderful
him.
guy.
I got to
Yeah.
know him later.
Yeah.
Doug is a dear friend. I deal with Doug a lot because I've donated my life's work to the Hall of Fame at Cooperstown.
Oh, just like Doug did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I deal with the people at the Hall of Fame and because Doug is so kind and gentle and is not on social media, I'm the watchdog. And there are times when the social media people in the past at the Hall of Fame would not credit Doug. And
I know.
I'm the one who literally raises holy hell and speaks out for Doug and has
He's a quiet guy. I know.
he's a very quiet. So I have Doug's. I'm the bad cop who has Doug's back. And lately, for the last like 8 months, they have not screwed up one of Doug's photo credits. They have they're back. doing good work where Doug is getting credit for everything. Yeah, Doug
Two,
is incredible.
he is.
He's
Two
the best.
technical questions for you.
Yes.
To get that final pitch, just give us a rough idea. How many photos do you have to take? You didn't just take one. How many photos are you snapping off to get that one? I
Well,
mean, in anticipation of it.
the cameras, my camera, I'm kind of poor right now because there's not a lot of work. The cameras I have are older that only shoot, I say only, like 10 frames a second. The newer
Okay.
cameras that I don't have shoot literally, it's a joke. They shoot up to 120 frames a second,
Wow.
which is just stupid. It's like you're shooting a movie. So if Tim Lincecum's on the mound throwing a no-hitter and it's like Will Venable's up and this could be the last pitch, I'm blasting away at 10 frames a second. And so that's
So
what
you
I'm,
have to edit all of those at the end to figure out which one is the real one.
well, that's easy.
That's the easy part, huh?
It's easier than in the old days when we shot film. When we shot film, the cameras then were 5 frames a second, and you had to budget because you only had 36
Print.
exposures. And if you were getting close to the end of the roll of film, the worst thing than death would be to run out of film. So you had to be, I don't have a roll of film here, but I would be, I could, I could change film and take a roll of film out of my camera, throw it in my mouth, throw in a new roll of film. I mean, you could it's like tying your shoes or whatever. You can do things with your hands and fingers where you don't even know what you're doing because there's a break in the action and it's like you rewind the film, you pull it out, you throw it in your mouth, put it, shoot the back, advance it, and because you can't miss because you only got 36 exposures. Now with digital, it's easy because you put in one card, you could use it all day because the cards are so big.
One final question to wrap up.
Sure.
Obviously, a lot of what you do is technical skill, but if you kind of weighed the two of them, how much of it is technical skill versus anticipation of of the pitch, the event, whatever? How much anticipation versus skill?
The technical stuff gets easier. The goal is it's easy to get overwhelmed when you're a new photographer, you're using new gear, you don't know what you're doing. It's a nightmare. It's an absolute disaster. I mean, the joke is that you get a camera manual in the old days and it's this thick and no photographer reads the camera manual. They just figure it out or whatever. And nowadays cameras don't even come with camera manuals. Everything is like an online PDF or whatever. And what you want to do is you get to where you just know how to do everything, just like you all know how to do things in your life or your job, how to cook or use your barbecue or drive your car or whatever. And you just want it to be second nature. So you take everything out of it. So it's an extension. When you have your camera and your lens in your hand, you're just doing your thing. And you don't even, I mean, the hard thing is like, if I don't shoot, like I don't get to go to spring training anymore. I used to shoot for Sports Illustrated spring training anymore. I haven't been in 10 years. So when the regular season would start, I'd be like, I've had my spring training. I'm ready to go. The hard thing for me is when the season starts and I like take out my cameras that have been sitting for all 6 months of the winter, because then I'm like, I'm out of practice and it takes a little while to get, like anything, you get the cobwebs out, to where you're just locked into the game. And you don't have to worry about, okay, how's my camera going to work again? And it's when you're in a groove and you're doing it a lot, like anything, then the technical stuff's out the window. It's just you're just it's like the computer. It's like you get a new computer. It's like, oh Christ, how does this work? How does so many of these technical things can really. I mean, it gets scary. It gets the older you get and the new stuff, and I hate change and the new things come along and
I
it's
know that.
we all go through this. And so yeah, the goal, I can babble all day, but the goal is to get it to where you're just at a game and you're thinking, guy on second base, he's going to score on this, or we got first and third, less than 2 outs, fly ball, you tag up or this or that, or there's no one on base, there's nothing going on. Right-handed hitter's up. He's a pull hitter. I'm gonna sit on the shortstop and hope that Willie Adames dives for a ball, or Matt Chapman's gonna dive for a ball at third, or you try and make pictures. And just take the technical stuff out of it.
Thanks, Bill.
Thank you
Brad,
very much.
Brad, how are we for time?
I have all the time you need. I'm totally
Wonderful. All right, so here's the lowdown here. It's going to be Harvey, Joe, Dixie, Dave Lippman, Renee, Paul, and then Charles. Harvey, you're up.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Brad, those photographs are extraordinary.
Thank you.
I'm a fairly decent amateur photographer, just for the family. I have a couple of technical questions, but one deals with one of the photos you displayed, which I believe is the second greatest defensive play in Giants history, and that's the Joe Panic glove flip.
Yes.
How did you get that shot?
I'll tell you, my brain is mush after talking all this time.
Take your time.
The left-handed hitter, the Royals left-handed hitter,
Hosmer.
Oh,
Hosmer.
Eric Hosmer.
Hosmer's up. I'm at third base. Hosmer's up. And now a lot of photographers that to me are boring or lazy or whatever, they'll be at a World Series and they'll just drill batters. It's like, I'm kind of an ass. It's like, I don't need a baseball card of Eric Hosmer hitting the ball. I'm like, I'm going to just give myself more freedom. I'm going to try and make a picture. And so when I'm at third base, I can look across the field right at Joe Panic and just try and visualize a baseball field. And you can all visualize a baseball field because you don't have to be a photographer to visualize a baseball field. Just picture yourself at third base and look across the field. There's Joe Panic at second base. And I have a clear shot of him. There's no coach in the way. There's no umpire in the way. And it's like, Hosmer's going to pull the ball. I'm going to sit on Joe Panic and hope for a dive. And I forget exactly what happened. I missed the dive. I was really angry because I should have had the actual dive, but I was close. So I missed the dive. And again, these cameras are it's a big 400 millimeter 2.8 lens that costs like $12,000, a big special lens you use, a big camera. But I was already on him close. So it was a matter of getting the camera to focus. And I wish I had the frame before, but this is like the first frame where it all came in focus. And that's the frame. But then, as we all know, it took a long replay. If it's not a double play, it's not a picture and nobody cares.
Yeah, it took 2.5 hours to get that replay.
Yeah. And because you can look at the picture on the back of the camera, they're looking at the replay, and I'm looking at the back of the camera thinking, well, that's a pretty good picture. I hope he's out because then this picture matters. If he's safe, nobody cares. Doesn't matter. And so, that was a big deal. And it's because what happens is if you're on Hosmer and he hits the ball, it's physically impossible to then move your camera to Panic. You're always going to be late. And so there were only a couple of photographers. The thing about sports is there could be a million photographers there, but you could be the only photographer that gets a picture. Like AP had a version of it, but it was completely like out of focus. Sports Illustrated, a buddy of mine from SI, like nailed it better than me. But there are only a couple of us that had that picture out of all the photographers in the ballpark, because most photographers are going to like shoot the boring baseball card of Eric Hosmer swinging the bat. So that's kind of an answer there.
Well, that's a great answer, and it's an extraordinary shot.
Thanks. I was happy with it.
Most of your photographs are taken digitally.
You'd be surprised. Everything at Candlestick is film. We didn't go to digital until 2003.
Right. I went to digital in 2008. My question is, what was your favorite film? You
We shot a Fujichrome RDP 100, and we would push it to 200. That's what we use for Sports Illustrated. And so most of all the film that you saw, the candlestick stuff that scanned, is all Fujichrome 100, and it was beautiful film.
Do
It
you
is.
develop
It
your own
was.
film?
No, we developed it at the paper when I worked, like some of the early stuff that I shot for the paper. Um, we would develop at the lab at the newspaper. But uh, when you work for Sports Illustrated, you would literally during the week we would FedEx the film, or on the weekend when we were on deadline, we would literally put it on an airplane. We'd go to the airport, ship it counter to counter on the United Red Eye from SFO to Newark. United 78 usually for a long time. It was United Flight 78, leaving at 10 p.m. from SFO to Newark, and to the
That's
timeline.
great.
Well, it's great stuff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Harvey. Joe, you're up, Joe.
Well, Gary, you double wowed me, so thank you for your presentation of my word, just incredible work.
Thanks.
24 is one of my great reads and looks ever, and God, thanks for that and the fill in on Shay, who came across as a really wonderful
John's the
guy.
best.
Yeah.
John. I gotta interrupt just for a second. You talk about John. I know you guys have had John Shea on, and a lot of you know John. He's such an amazing guy. And to give you an idea, and John, I love John so much. I just need to share how, John would go to Willie's house. I went there once I had to copy for the book. Willie had all these pictures all over the house that we needed for the book. So I went over to the house one day, and Renee and John took a bunch of these pictures off the wall so that I could copy them. It's like, Willie on the Ed Sullivan Show, and just Willie and the Queen and stuff like that. And, and, you know, I don't know. Well, I know how Willie is. Willie doesn't trust strangers. Willie doesn't need a clown like me in his house, and I understand that. But John is there, and so I'm only there like 20 minutes, and then it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon. John calls me at like 8 o'clock that night as he's driving home, and he's giving me a bad time. He's like, "God, you left too early." He's giving me a bad time. He said, "You missed lunch and dinner." Because that was a day where they probably got Jack in the Box for lunch and like Chinese food for dinner, and John would hang out with Willie, and then John's drive home from Atherton all the way north to San Francisco across the Golden Gate Bridge up to Marin would take a long time, and he'd call me. And when John would finally say, "Oh, Willie, I think I got to go," Willie would be like, "Oh, you're leaving? How come you're leaving?" I mean, Willie loved having John around. Every time John would go to talk to Willie for the book, he'd be there for hours and hours. And Willie loved John's visits. And they got along so well. And Willie cared so much about that book project. And Joe, I'm sorry, we'll get back to your question. Just you mentioned John. I could just talk about what John and Willie did together on that book. And John knew that this was like the project of his life, and he knew how important it was. And yeah, it was really cool. So anyway, back to you, Joe. Sorry.
Well, I've read everything on the Say Hey Kid, and I've read nothing because John, I mean, that book just blows away everything else I've ever read. And you really captured in that picture both Willie's admiration and comfortability with John. I mean, that picture is so spot on. I have one
Thanks.
more comment and a question. You seem to have a warm spot for Lincecum. This this rook on the Mets, Jonah Tong, they compare his delivery to Lincecum's. I don't think he's going to go north with the big club, but if you haven't seen him throw, look at his motion and you will see Lincecum.
Mhm.
Well,
It's
I've heard about him. I haven't got to see him live in a game. I've seen some pictures and some video a little bit,
yeah,
but that's fun to see.
yes. Yeah, check him out. And my question is, how many times, how many days did you have to set up that shot of Bonds's 756 with both cameras before it happened?
Lots. We started practicing in April. It didn't happen till I think it was August 7th was when it happened.
Yeah, no, I mean the lead up though, like from 55 to 56. I don't remember that.
Oh, well, well, like I said, we literally started in April to practice, to prove the concept, and then it we started really doing it like in June. I mean, it was a lot, and I didn't go on the road for that. He got really close, so we did a road trip before the homestand. They went to LA and San Diego for 6 games, three in LA, three in San Diego. So the Dodger series was Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Dodger Stadium. He did nothing. And then they went to San Diego. Friday night, did nothing. Saturday, he tied Aaron. That's when I got the cover of the magazine because the magazine closed on Monday. So they closed the magazine on Monday. Um, it's funny. I'll say real. So they flew home Sunday night. They had a home game Monday against Washington, and the magazine was closing. But if Bonds homered, it was going to be different. Bonds did not homer Monday night. They closed the magazine with my cover from San Diego, and then he homered on Tuesday. And so we had practiced, we had done it a lot, and it was just day games, night games, and I for the night games at 7 o'clock. That's back when every night game was at 7:15. I'd get there at like noon or 12:30 to set up, and so it was a lot of time. But it was the thing that was funny was, as you know, the team was terrible, and so there was all this media, and it was fun seeing all your friends and everything. And then I'll never forget because back then I would park in Lot A across the left field dual bridge. Finally, at late after that night on that Tuesday night, packing and wheeling all my stuff on a cart. It was like a big sad letdown that night. Like, God, Bonds did it. The team sucks. Like the season's over. It's they had Lincecum, but it was we had no idea that in a couple of years that the organization was going to turn around so much.
So by the time it came, it was those 2 days were old hat. You were so used to it that it
Oh
was
yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Definitely.
Well, all I can tell you is if you ever need anybody to carry your camera, I'm your guy. Thanks a lot. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
For those who don't have this incredible book by John Shea, you need to get it, not only for what John wrote, but for Brad's pictures as well.
Well, we did. John was so into. A lot of writers don't care. It's a word book. It's not a picture book. But John wanted to have as many pictures as possible, and so he was real supportive of like there's like 90 pictures in the book. We did a lot of work to do that. It was really cool.
We have a special guest here. Wants to say hello, Mr. Shea. Floor is yours. John?
Yeah, hi.
There you go.
I'm sorry. I'm driving. I just pulled off the road. I almost crashed because of hearing Brad's words. But I'm going to a book signing. Michelle Smith wrote a nice book on Tara Vandermeer, the old Stanford women's coach, and I'm here in the city. But I just want to say hi to everybody. And Brad, man, thanks so much. Love you, brother.
Hey,
And
John.
I cannot tell you. I go on and on about Brad, but this is his gig. But there's nobody who takes more pride in photography than Brad Mangin, because anytime somebody like tweets a photo of Mays or McCovey or Marichal from the 60s or 70s, he is always ticked off that nobody is photo crediting the photographer. It's like, hey, you're just cutting and pasting. And he made damn sure that he got the best photos for the Mays book, and that he knows everybody going back to the 50s, all these legendary photographers. And only he could have found these never before seen photos. And he made damn sure I paid them all too, which because a lot of times now you'll see books where you could tell that the photographer wasn't paid or credited because the internet just allows too much free stuff, right? Like music, you can just kind of cut and paste it and it's yours, but it's not really yours. It belongs to the photographer in this case. And anyway, Brad's goal on the book was to make sure every picture made Willie look good. And it does, except maybe for one, and that's the one I took, of Willie and Vince Scully in the broadcast booth on the final weekend of Vinny's career in San Francisco. And the best picture taken was by the Dodger photographer who was there next to me, and I'm just using my phone and he's using whatever he uses, and it was gorgeous. But the Dodgers didn't even want to give it up. Remember, Brad?
Oh, that was
And
a nightmare.
so we used my picture, which was okay, but it didn't, embrace Willie like maybe the other one did. But every picture in that book had a great story, and it was wonderful seeing all your photography, Brad. I thought I saw everything. I didn't see a morsel of what you have, and you could do this again next week on the 49ers. I mean, what you've done there with the books. And with all your history, I mean, this is not just baseball for you, man. But hey, thank you so much, and I'm off safely. I'm parking, so I'm not in traffic anymore. But thank you for the kind words, and you're right about Willie. I would go for an hour or two. I would say that, then I'm done. I'll go off. But he wanted company. He wanted somebody to talk to who knew ball, and Brad was there one day, and and it was he pulled off his magic to get the photography on the wall to all be part of that. But Brad's books are just tremendous. They're still available, and they tell stories of 10, 12, and 14. And the Posey book is just outstanding, with Brian Murphy collaborating. But thank you very much, Brad. Congrats, man.
Thanks so much, John.
Thanks so much for gracing us with your presence. Really wonderful. Mr. Dixie, you're up.
Thanks, Gary. Brad, to say your pictures are spectacular is a gross understatement.
Thanks.
I have an observation and a question. The observation is, despite your veteran ability to plan and anticipate what's going to happen, would you agree that sometimes your spectacular pictures, your perfect picture doesn't come until 5 seconds before you click it? You don't know it's coming.
Oh yeah, I mean one of the great quotes, one of the literally the best photographers ever in this country who's still alive, sports photographers, is Neil Leifer, who worked for Sports Illustrated and Time Magazine and everyone. And he actually hired me in 1990 to be the Bay Area staff photographer for the National Sports Daily, which was the great short-lived daily sports newspaper run by Frank DeFord for a year and a half. And Neil had a great quote where he said that in sports photography, you have to be lucky, but when you're lucky, you can't miss. And, look at a football field. It's a big, gigantic rectangle, and you're just one little person wherever you are. And, you need the play to happen in front of you. Baseball field is different. You need to not be blocked by an umpire. You need to be on the right side of where something happens. And you need to be lucky, but then you can't miss. Well, I'm here to tell you, I've been lucky a lot of times and I've missed horribly. And then I just want to kill myself. And then a lot of times I've been lucky and I've not missed. I've made the picture. Yeah, it's crazy. It's, baseball's the game, we know, or nothing happens for 2 hours. And then bang, bang, something happens. And you got to be ready for it. And also, there's a guy on first and 2 outs and someone doubles in the corner, and that guy from first is going to try and score. So you got, 10 seconds from that guy from first to score. So it's like, okay, home plate, there's going to be a play at the plate. Now, but you're at third base and the picture's better from first base. So, but sometimes it's better from third base. But sometimes it's better from first base, the umpire blocks you, the bat boy blocks you, or the third base coach comes around too much. Flannery blocks you, and it's just, So it's a nutty thing. You never know. But yeah, it's a funny deal. You're never quite sure, and you could get too wrapped up into your anger or being sad, but then something happens right away again. You know, it's crazy. It's a crazy, and again, it's different now because of digital. You can see right away. In the old days with film, a lot of times you never knew because you could just had that roll of film, and then we're putting it in an envelope, and then driving to the airport and putting it on the red eye, and then I can't sleep. And call the editor the next day, call Sports Illustrated, and say, "Hey, how did that plate to plate look?" You know, because you don't know. So it's a crazy deal.
My best timing ever, I think, was in Texas. Will Clark was at the plate. He swung at a ball and hit it, and I took the picture as the ball was about 20 feet from the bat, and it was a home run.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I had an SLR, so it was one shot, and that was my shot. My
Right.
question is, there was a fabulous, stunning picture of Candlestick on opening day, I think. Beautiful panoramic shot of it. But in right field, there's a section, maybe in section 200 or something, there were all these red seats and they were all empty. Do you remember why?
I'm sorry, was it a picture I showed?
Yes. One of the very first pictures of Candlestick, and it was, I think it was opening day, but the crowd was everywhere except those seats. They were empty.
It was an aerial shot you took. The whole stadium was full, except for in the right field, right above the fence. That section was empty.
They used to not have those seats. They couldn't use them because of the football. I thought. That's what I remember.
Football
Oh, but this was
Yeah, they
lower,
were the
so it wouldn't
football
make any
bleachers.
difference.
Yeah, they were football bleachers. Sometimes they didn't let people in them
Huh.
back in the 80s, I thought.
Waste of good seats.
Hold on. Oh no, those are they didn't sell those.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking at sorry.
It's a beautiful picture, but that is just strange.
Yeah, that was I forget. That was sorry. I know what you're saying. That was a weird, back then they went through a cycle where there were a couple year or two where they made that the family section where there was no smoking and it was weird. Yeah, I know what you're saying now. I just went and looked at it, so I know what you're saying. That was 1987. I have no idea because they did sell those seats for games, but who knows? That was, I mean, they did. I sat out there a couple times, not often, but yeah.
Well, just not that day.
Yeah, not that day. That was not opening day. That was not opening day. That was just a game during the summer.
Thank you, Dixie. Dave Littman.
Okay, as a Defense Information School trained photographer, I want to commend you on an absolutely fantastic set of photographs. You have me floored with your use of leading lines and rule of thirds.
Thank you.
My question to you is, have any of the Giants used any of your photographs in Oracle Park to decorate walls, clubhouses, stuff like that, in the stadium, in their yearbooks and so forth?
I did. Yeah, the Joe Panic double play picture, since like I was one of the only people to get that picture, that was up in, they used that. I know that was in the home clubhouse for a while, and I know it was up in spring training in the clubhouse right after it happened. They obviously they have their own photographers that do a wonderful job. I did one thing that is they didn't do a real good job of organizing things. Their photo department was kind of messed up for a while. And after the 2010 season, me and Brian Murphy had a book deal. We were going to publish a book, and the Giants didn't really have their act together, and they came to us. Mario Alioto came to us, and if you look at our first book in 2010, Worth the Wait, that was the Giants' official book. I did the Giants' official book, so that was a cool thing that they used. It was 95% my pictures. A few pictures were picked up by the Giants, And then you could, by the way, I do have a website, manginphotography.com, that's got like millions more pictures on it. And they did a really great ad campaign in 2014 that you could see on my website, where all the banners around the city, all the banners at the ballpark, everything in 2014 were all my pictures from the 2013 season. That's really beautiful. They don't do stuff like that now. It's kind of boring, but they did a real photo driven ad campaign in 2014 that was all my pictures. It was really beautiful stuff. So every once in a while they've done a few things. But I mean they do, they have their own people doing their stuff.
Thanks, Dave. Renee, you're up.
Wow, this was a great presentation. I loved all your pictures, like everybody else did.
Thank you.
The passion, the drama that you put on those pictures, the moments, capturing all of that, can't beat it. But you know what? You showed one of my favorite pictures, kind of lost it a little bit, was the John Shea Willie Mays.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Thank you.
That's all I'm going to say. Phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you. That was I'm so glad you said that, Renee. That was a crazy day. That was the Monday, the day after the 49ers had lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, the first time they lost to them. And it was a weird day. And then we didn't know that COVID was coming right at us. And me and John have talked about that so much because, Willie still was Willie then. He was still Willie. It was something else. Thank you.
Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Renee. Charles, welcome back.
Hey, Charles.
Hello, how you doing?
Good.
I think I have all 5 of your books. Did I miss any of them? I hope I didn't.
No.
Okay, all right. The question I had was I wanted to ask about one of your kind of associates, because I'm actually going to spring training on Monday, and I'm so excited. And I get to meet Dennis Despois.
Dennis Despois, yes.
And I'm not sure I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but
silent S, Dennis Despois.
Despois, okay. And his Facebook thing, he just seems like the coolest guy. And wondered if you had any interactions with him or anything like that.
Dennis's last year with the Giants was 89, and I didn't really know. I was so young and just shy and scared to death of Dennis. To me, was a god and a legend back then because I
think we have parallel periods of being Giants fans. And I remember seeing his name all over the pictures in the programs and the yearbooks.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. And I've talked to him a million times. We text all the time. I know Dennis from afar really well. And
I know the name, but it's like I've never met him. And I'm like,
he worked with my dear friend Michael Zagaris, the absolute legend. Because people don't realize that Z worked for the Giants. Z helped Dennis with the Giants, and then Dennis worked with Z with the 49ers in the 80s. So they worked together for years. And Dennis's pictures that he did with the Giants are absolutely incredible.
I found one that I absolutely love that I'm going to get him to sign, and it's one of Mike Sadek's sliding home, standing up, covered in dirt.
Yeah, with the arms in the air.
Levin's right there, and the catcher's looking up to the sky, and the umpire's calling safe. And
second game of a doubleheader against the Mets.
And I love that picture. I found that, and I was like, I want to get that picture signed by him.
Yeah, that's cool. You're going to meet. Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Dennis Despois was just the legendary Giants team photographer, Vietnam War vet. Great.
I was so excited when he said he wanted to meet with me, and I sent him the movie that was done about me getting all the 78 Giants guys, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I definitely want to meet with you, and text me when you get into the airport." And I'm like, "That's so cool." And I've seen his name for it feels like 100 years, but it's just so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Charles. Paul, you're up.
Yeah, Brad, listen, thank you for a fascinating look at Giants history. I mean, I'm sure as I was watching some of the photographs, I quickly went back and looked at some of the faces on these guys, and all these smiles and some of these critical plays in Giants history just came all over the screen. So I want to thank you for doing that for me as well. I just was really taken by your work. And when you talk and explain the use of technology and how you had to get your picture and where you were at certain times, I'm like blown away. So I just have to say, A, thank you. B, my two quick questions. One question is the Travis Ishikawa ball photo. When he after he hit the home run, so what did you have to do? Just wait and find out where the ball was and get the ball down to him so he could have it?
No, what happened was, when traditionally when there's when a team wins a playoff series, there's several rounds, as you know, that was to win the pennant. So, you go in the clubhouse, it's a crazy scene. You have to cover your champagne everywhere. So, I'm soaking wet. My one camera and flash is covered, and the best pictures, the spraying the champagne, everything those are done in like 10 minutes, and then that clubhouse was full of people and families, and it's funny because that was a year I got to be really good friends with Matt Duffy's dad, Tom Duffy, because he was an amateur photographer, and I got to be good friends with the whole Duffy family that year. And so I was hanging out in the clubhouse with Tom Duffy and some of the Duffys, and and I had I'm not a newspaper photographer or a wire service photographer. I'm not on deadline. The deadline photographers, they shoot their pictures and then they got to leave and get back to the photo workroom and download their cards and get their pictures out. I'm working for SI. I just got to, transmit all my take the next day, because it was whatever it was. We weren't on deadline. So I'm not on deadline, and I'm just thinking, it's like the old corny 50s picture. It's the Bobby Thompson moment. I need him kissing the baseball. And Andy Kuno's my good friend, who's one of the Giants team photographers. And I knew that, he would want that picture too. So I went to Jim Moorhead. I said, "Do you guys have the baseball?" And he said, "Yeah, one of the clubbies has it, or whoever, someone had it." But he was busy. And I just said, "Well, I need that picture. And because this is not a picture that anyone else is going to ask for, because I'm old and I like to think I'm smarter than most photographers." And I said, "Andy's going to want it too." And I kept bugging him and bugging him and bugging him. And it took like an hour. And finally, Ishikawa's not leaving anywhere. And so finally he got the clubby to get the ball, got Travis, and it was just me and Kuno shot that picture. And so I was really, and then I put it out on Instagram that night, and the picture was, I mean, Channel 2 News wanted to use it because I'm a smart photographer. I made them pay for it. Channel 2 News used it. A lot of people used it because it was like an exclusive deal.
Here's some of
My other
Brad's
question
work.
for you is, in your collection,
Paul.
do you have a picture of Willie Mays, Barry Bonds, and Bobby Bonds together?
I do not. That was I know Martha Jane Stanton, who was a dear friend of mine, was a great Giants team photographer. She took over from Dennis. She was a Giants team photographer from 1990 through 2009. She shot them together once or twice on the field. I never did anything like that.
What was her name?
Martha Jane Stanton. She's married to Bruce Jenkins,
Okay.
the great Chronicle columnist.
Yes.
And she's awesome.
All right.
She's a really,
The other logical question, I think this might be for everybody, but based on your website, are some of the pictures that you took and presented available for copies for us to purchase?
they're not cheap. They're limited sign prints, and this is how I make a living. So
I understand.
they're anything's available. They're just they're not $25. Put it that way. But
Okay, no, I understand.
yeah,
Thank
everything's. If you go to but to look, I encourage all of you. Like I showed a very tightly edited thing. You go to my website's amazing. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pictures with great curated galleries. There's a gallery for each World Series season and old pictures. And so if you want to really just dive into your Giants history, please, I encourage you to go. I have an entire gallery of just Tim Lincecum, like 8 million different looks of Timmy.
Cool.
And that link will be on when I send out the YouTube. Brad's link will be included on that. So
Cool.
Brad,
Well, Brad,
I got two last things, Brad.
Yes.
Number one, I met you and Norm was with me at the Mays Celebration of Life. That's the first time we ever really spoke. You know all the dignitaries and players there. Were you like a kid in a candy shop? Did you actually work that day, or were you just soaking it all in?
I did. I went and shot. I mean, that's right. That was a weird. That was, we weren't allowed on the field because it was a special
Right.
thing. So we shot from the stands. I remember I went to the press box first because we used our credentials. So I went to the press box first to set up my stuff, got there super early. And as you remember, it was a gorgeous day. It was an incredible day. Incredible day. And, it was only supposed to last a couple hours. It lasted 3 hours, but it went by like that. I mean, the speeches were so good. And then I was able to attend the gathering out behind.
Right, that's where we met you.
Yeah, and my favorite thing there, I was talking to a lot of different people, and I was with my co-author Brian Murphy from KMBR, and our best moment was at one point there was Juan Marichal and his son, and we went over and introduced ourselves to Juan Marichal and his son, and Juan was just like
wonderful,
the nicest, most classiest guy. We got our picture taken with Juan, and he's tiny. God, he's a tiny little guy, and that was a really cool. That was a really cool event. That was
because it wasn't like a shiver or a wake. It really was a celebration, and
oh my God,
it was wonderful.
Yeah, that was really something. That was really
and my
something.
last thing before we wrap this up, you did the book on Posey. I want you to put on your future hat. 2028. I assume that Buster Posey, Bruce Bochy, and Dusty Baker are going to be elected to the Hall of Fame. Do you plan on being there and shooting and possibly making a book?
Oh yeah, well, so that'll be the summer of 2027.
Right.
Yeah, so we'll find out this coming December at the winter meetings, which unfortunately will probably be in the middle of a lockout. We'll find out that Bochy and Dusty get in on that version of the Veterans Committee. And then hopefully a month later in January of next year, we'll find out that Buster gets in. And if all goes well, I'm hoping to be able to do a book on my 40 years of Giants baseball photography. And that if all goes well, it's something that would come out in 2028. And so it would include the Cooperstown induction of those three guys in 2027. So
wonderful.
I've lectured in Cooperstown 3 different times. So I've been there 3 different times to lecture, but I've never been there for an induction. And, this would be the time because there's no other player. I mean, Kent's going in, obviously, but Buster, there's no other guy like Buster that I will cover in my career that's going to go in. We all know there's nobody else from that championship run. So, this is the guy for me to go. And then, with Bochy and Dusty, that's just like the cherry on top. So, I'm definitely making plans to free up the end of July in 2027.
We will see you there. Hey,
Awesome.
Brad, let's all give it up for Brad Mangin.
Thank you.
Brad, Brad, really wonderful. We will reconvene next Thursday with Eric Romo. Until then, have a great night, everybody. I'm going to shut the recording off. Anybody wants to hang around for a few minutes, we'll talk some Giant baseball. Good night, everybody. Brad, really fabulous.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you, everyone. So fun.
Bye-bye now.
Ed.